on behalf of our acting director, he would like to welcome you too. He will be here a little this afternoon. We wanted to cover interagency agreements today. And by the way, my name is Nina Butler. I am the financial officer for Smithsonian Exhibits, and we wanted to share interagency agreements today with you. The majority of Smithsonian Exhibits projects are within the Smithsonian Institution, but occasionally we do have a few agencies that contact us for assistance with exhibition support. And we thought it would be interesting to just share a little bit with you about the external projects that we have under interagency agreements. I'm not going to go into a lot of the detail, just going to skim the surface, and I'll be happy to take some questions at the end. So let's get started here. So what is an interagency agreement? This definition comes right off of the OPM website. Interagency agreements are written agreements between federal agencies where one agency transfers appropriated funds to another agency to obtain goods or services. An IAA must be in place to confirm that all the general terms and conditions are agreed to prior to performing services, transferring goods, or transferring any funding. An IAA becomes effective on the date that it's signed by both the requesting agency and the servicing agency officials, and all IAA activity must be performed within a specified period of performance. That is critical. Just wanted to go over some of the terminology with you. The requesting agency is the federal agency that has a requirement and desires to obtain goods and services from Smithsonian Exhibits. Smithsonian Institution, Smithsonian Exhibits, is the servicing agency. We provide the goods and services that the requesting agency requests. An interagency is made up of two sections. These are the forms that are required to establish an interagency agreement. The 7600A form serves as the general terms and conditions form. It outlines what the terms are, the payment status, the deliverables, all of that. The 7600 serves as the order requirements and the funding information. This 7600B form obtains the funding information from the requesting agency as well as the funding from the Smithsonian Institution and the dollar amount. So SIE enters into interagency agreements basically through word of mouth, from past interagency agreements that we've had with other agencies. For example, FBI may refer another agency to SIE because of work that we have done with them in the past. Sometimes, when we're on official business and we're attending conferences, we meet other museum colleagues that have needs, and we discuss and share information there. And on average, SIE does about 4 to 5 interagency agreements per year. We have approximately 100 Smithsonian projects that we do, and we pick up maybe 3, 4, 5 interagency agreements through the year. Those interagency agreements can range from about $3,000 to $3 million. They can even be a single year IAA where the work has to be done within a fiscal year, or they can span across multiple fiscal years. And that is all outlined in the 7600A form. So the process, the requesting agency will inform SIE of what types of services that they are looking for. We do interpretive master planning. We do design, fabrication, installation, mount making, casework, all kinds of services, exhibit services. And at that point, SIE will conduct a series of departmental meetings where we determine if the other agency requirements meet our mission and if it fits into our project schedule. So once accepted, SIE develops a clear statement of work. We have a cost estimator on board who will talk to you a little later this afternoon. And he has the expertise to determine how much material costs would be, all of the components that would have to go into making the requesting agency's requirement come to fruition. And then we also have total labor requirements that are necessary to complete goods and services. So once we have all of those costs together, we develop a quote, and we share those documents with the requesting agency for their review and acceptance before we even do the 7600 A or B forms. Once the agency and Smithsonian Exhibits are in agreement, we contact our Office of Sponsored Projects and we let them know that an IAA is forthcoming. So the documents that we send to the Office of Sponsored Projects, acronym OSP, we send them the statement of work, we send them a proposal brief that has to be approved by a principal investigator, which happens to be our project managers, their supervisor, and our unit director. We have to submit an IAA budget to the Office of Sponsored Projects. And again, these figures are generated by our SIE cost estimator using material cost. And when we have small IAA agreements, we typically know who is going to work on them in our production shop, our graphic shop, or our design shop. And that makes it really good because we can tighten the budget. We know what their actual salaries and benefits are, and we fit that right into the IAA budget. There are times when we have those $1 million IAAs where we don't necessarily know who's going to work on it, because there's vacation that we have to factor in. People may be out for various reasons. So we use an average rate of $62 to help us build our budget. So we know how many hours it's going to take to complete a job, but we may use a rate of $62. The IA budget also includes a 10% administrative fee. It covers the infrastructure costs that are necessary to support the activity that gets absorbed by the institution. And for example, those are things such as accounting and payroll functions. So this is a sample IAA budget that comes right off of our Office of Sponsored Projects website. I'm not sure if you can see this, but there are sections for salaries and benefits, if there's any travel that's associated with the IAA, contractual services that we may need, materials and supplies, and down below there's an administrative fee of the 10%, which automatically calculates based on these fields being populated. So that informs OSP the cost of the IAA. And so that cost is reflected on the 7600A and B forms. So the Office of Sponsored Projects and our Office of Finance and Accounting roles. So OSP works with SIE on the terms of the agreement and facilitates the setup of the award. A lot of times our Sponsored Projects Office will work with other agencies just to assist them with filling out forms, making sure that the funding lines are all correct, the dates are all correct, and that everything is in line. They are also responsible for approving and accepting and signing the agreement on behalf of the Undersecretary of Finance and Administration and the CFO. OSP forwards the approved agreement to the agency for their review and their final execution. The other agency has to sign the document as well as the Smithsonian. So we have a detailed budget, the interagency setup form, and a copy of the executed agreement. All of those documents are forwarded to our Office of Finance and Accounting to establish a spending authority for our unit. That spending authority, just for example, if we had a $100,000 IAA with FBI, the institution, our institution, would set up a financial record in our system for $100,000. That gives us the authority to go ahead and start to make purchases that we need, and that our staff can start to work on it. OSP prepares and submits invoices to the agency on a monthly basis. Those invoices reflect the actual costs that are incurred and documented on our books. We cannot bill for any work or any service until we have actually incurred the cost. So just because we have the spending authority doesn't mean we bill for all of it. It's just the costs that are incurred. And then our Office of Finance and Accounting collects the funds from the other agency based on those invoices. And a little bit about what we do here to manage those IAAs. So once the spending authority is set up in ERP, that is our PeopleSoft financial system that the institution uses, it generates a unique chart field for each IAA that we have. And so all of our contractual services, all of our purchase orders, contracts, purchase cards. We have purchase cards where we can buy small items. Those items are charged directly to the federal IAA. The unique chart field is also added into WebTA, which is our time and attendance system. And each department will record their hours worked to that specific project. Project managers, supervisors, and SIE administration frequently monitor a capacity planner. That is an internal document that we have, that we keep, that lets us know how many hours and who has been assigned to a project. That's our plan. And then we monitor WebTA for actual hours that are posted on timesheets. So I can tell you there's a lot of monitoring that goes on with an IAA just to make sure that we stay within the budget and we're on track to what we planned. Federal staff can post directly to the federal IAA, no problem. Trust staff, because they are trusts, they cannot post directly to a federal award. So our our budget office sets up a temporary trust fund to allow our trust fund staff to record their time to this temporary fund. And there's a process that we go through where our trust staff are considered consultants, and their time is charged to the IAA, not as salaries, but as a consultant. So we do have both federal and trust staff working to complete an IAA project. IAA expenditures can never exceed an approved budget, nor can service begin or continue outside of the period of performance. This document here, I added in, this is actually my sheet here that I use to kind of monitor what's going on. And I don't know if there's any fund managers in the house today, but I'd be willing to share this document with you because it's very helpful in monitoring the budgets that we send. So for example, this 52 would match the budget that we sent to our Office of Sponsored Projects and gets approved by the other agency. So there's line items for services, supplies, travel, and then we have our federal staff salaries here. We have our trust staff salaries here. And these are monitored by every pay period that we complete, just to make sure that we're doing as we plan to do. A lot of times this document can be used if someone is on leave or we need to have some flexibility in the staff that are working on the project. it can actually be populated all the way through the end to see if we need to move hours from one staff member to another staff member. And so there is a reconciliation process that happens with these CUF records, internal records, with the institution's financial records. And ultimately, we try to stay within the budget as close as possible. But again, we cannot exceed the budget. So that's pretty much just an overview of our IAA process. And if anyone has any questions about that, just let me know. Okay. Interagency agreement. Yeah. I'll go back to you and to the beginning here. So it's a written agreement between two federal agencies for goods and services to be performed. So there's a requesting agency and a servicing agency, and Smithsonian Exhibits is the servicing agency. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, and our office of sponsored projects, that's what they're here for, to work with the other agencies and kind of advise on, multiple year funding, so that everybody understands the different appropriations and the appropriation laws. So that's what they do. Any other questions? No. Okay. Anyone virtually have any questions?